Anime movies today are a very big thing in the West. We had the excellent Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man Reza arc, and even the one movie that I reviewed recently, All You Need Is Kill. It's obvious that anime movies are making a big push into the Western market, and that can be a good thing. However, we also just need to slow down just a little bit and not think that almost everything that comes out of Japan is going to be great. Today I'm reviewing the anime film Scarlet, a movie that, depending on who you ask, is either a bold metaphysical meditation disguised as an action movie, or a very confusing cinematic identity crisis. After watching it, I landed somewhere in the middle. I thought it was fine, with absolutely fantastic animation, but also a story that felt scattered across too many ideas. So let's go ahead and break down what works, what doesn't, and why I ended up giving it the score that I am going to give it. Hey everyone, this is Chris Bolts, and I'm coming in with a video review today. But make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. Now let's get one thing out of the way for Scarlet. Its most strongest element is the animation. Scarlet is visually stunning. Studio Chizu, the studio behind the movie, really worked some really good magic for this film that really paid off. The color work is vivid and deliberate. The character animation is fluid, expressive without leaning into exaggerated anime shorthand. And the action sequences, when they actually happen, are incredibly well choreographed. Every frame looks polished and purposeful. Even outside the fights, the movie knows how to use composition to create emotional weight. Still moments, quiet shots, symbolic imagery, these are handled beautifully. Even if the narrative doesn't fully stick the landing, the movie consistently treats viewers to frames that feel like art pieces. If you're someone who watches anime largely for the craft behind it, Scarlet absolutely delivers. This is one of those films where I frequently thought, I wish the story was as good as the visuals. And that's where things start to get complicated. From its trailers and promotional materials, Scarlet was presented as a high-energy action movie, something in the realm of a fantasy thriller with emotional stakes. You expect a certain rhythm, escalating conflict, character arcs tied to physical battles, a plot that moves from confrontation to confrontation. But that's not the movie we get. Instead, Scarlet is much more of an introspective, metaphysical journey. It's about life and death, forgiveness, identity, and the emotional scars people carry. The action sequences feel more like punctuation marks than the main content. The majority of the runtime focuses on heavy spiritual conversations, dreamlike sequences, and symbolic imagery that forces the viewer to interpret rather than simply watch. This misalignment between marketing and reality doesn't automatically make the film bad, but it does affect the viewing experience. If you walked in expecting a sharp, adrenaline-driven action feature, what you get instead feels slow, abstract, and sometimes even disorienting. And that's exactly where some of my biggest criticisms come in. The story in Scarlet tries to tackle a lot. It begins with this girl, her name is Scarlet. She's the princess of a kingdom in Denmark, and her father unceremoniously gets killed and the throne is taken by her uncle. It wants to explore that trauma, that legacy, existential crisis, moral ambiguity, the concept of self, and ultimately forgiveness. All of these themes can work, but the film tries to weave them together while also maintaining an almost dreamlike structure that keeps shifting in tone, pacing, and even internal logic. As a result, the narrative ends up feeling scattered. Not necessarily messy in a technical sense, but unfocused in a thematic one. You can tell the creators had a lot to say, but the film doesn't pick one central idea and build around it. Instead, it jumps between metaphors, symbolic arcs, and emotional beats that don't always connect smoothly. There are long stretches where the movie seems to abandon plot progression altogether in favor of introspection or philosophical monologues. While these scenes can be powerful in isolation, They interrupt the momentum, making the movie feel much longer than it needs to be. If the filmmakers had streamlined the experience, maybe cut about 20 to 30 minutes and focused on one or two core themes, the story could have been tighter and more impactful. Instead, it feels like the movie is trying to say everything at once and ironically ends up saying less clearly. Another issue is the coherence. The metaphysical elements are visually striking, but not always narratively grounded. Some sequences work beautifully as symbolism, but because the film doesn't quite explain its internal metaphysics, it's often unclear what's literal, what's emotional, and what's entirely metaphorical. For some viewers, that ambiguity can be a strength. For others, it creates a sense of confusion rather than depth. The result is a movie that feels like having a dream explained to you by someone who swears the dream was profound, but can't quite articulate why. Despite these structural issues, the characters in Scarlet have strong emotional foundations. Scarlet is a compelling character. She is not a girl boss in any kind of way. She has worries, she has doubts. She does get handled fiercely by a lot of the people that she fights. She's not always cunning. She does get tricked, so she's not a girl boss. Another character that comes into it is Hajiti. He is not second fiddle to Scarlet. In fact, he is the emotional weight, if you will, for Scarlet, trying to keep Scarlet on a direct path away from vengeance and violence. Their motivations are clear, their relationships are well defined, and the film does give them arcs, though sometimes these arcs get lost in the surreal storytelling. The central theme of forgiveness plays out well through the characters' interactions. There are several powerful emotional moments, instances where the visuals, sound, and writing finally snap together and deliver something genuinely moving. But because these moments are buried between abstract sequences and shifting plot threads, they don't always land as hard as they could. With a more focused script, these same characters could have had even stronger emotional resonance. So where does that leave the movie overall? For me, Scarlet has stunning animation, fantastic production quality, and genuinely ambitious storytelling. I respect what it tries to do, and I appreciate that it reaches for something philosophical, and there are several individual scenes that I did love. But as a whole, the movie feels uneven. It's advertised as an action movie, but plays like a metaphysical art film. Its story tries to tackle too many themes without giving any of them enough breathing room, and the narrative structure is confusing enough that it occasionally pulls you out of the experience rather than drawing you deeper in. Ultimately, I am giving Scarlet a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad movie, as I mentioned before, it's just a fine movie. It's good enough, but it's also confusing, overextended, and not nearly as cohesive as it could have been. Still, if you appreciate a visually impressive film or you enjoy movies that explore abstract, emotional, or metaphysical ideas, Scarlet is worth watching, but I would probably wait until it gets on streaming. Just go in with the right expectations and not the expectations that marketing gave you. But those are my thoughts on the movie Scarlet. Have you guys seen the movie Scarlet? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts, jump in the comments below and let's have a discussion about it. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Boats signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.